Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Talk Sports Show. I know this was supposed to go on at 9 o'clock, but we're starting an hour early because it's going to be a very long show today. I'm giving you my final college football playoff rankings, and my second to last college football top 25. And next week will be a little bit different on Sunday, as I will not be going live at 8. It'll be noon, so I can watch the selection show for college football along with y'all and give you my thoughts and opinions on the top 4 and all the bowl games. But tonight's show, like I said, college football top 25, college football final playoff rankings for me. And I will be going over my Big Ten preseason review and much more. Let's get right into the video. Here we go. First video I'm going to show you is this one. So, number 7, I had Indiana. And I feel like I got this one right. And they just fired their coach, Tom Allen. And I feel like this was the perfect place for Indiana. And I don't feel like they should have been higher. I feel like I was spot on with this. Now let's get out of it to number 6. Okay. The first team let's hear what I say, and then I will tell you what I think. So, I was off on Rutgers. They did way better than I expected. They are going they're going to a bowl game, and they're going to finish in the top part of the Big Ten. I was way off on this in the preseason before the season started. So therefore, I was wrong on Michigan State. I was wrong on Rutgers. Let's see what I had to say about Michigan State. I was way off on Michigan State. And I'll be first. I will take the L on saying I was wrong about Sparty. I was way off on Michigan State. They did terrible this year. Terrible. Now let's see what I had to say about Penn State. Number 4, I have Penn State. The reason I have Penn State at number 4 is because they have a new QB, and we don't know how good their new QB is going to be, Drew Aller. We don't know if he's going to be the next Sean Clifford or if he's going to be better than Sean Clifford, but that's why I have him here. Okay, so Penn State, I think I got right, because if you heard what I just said about them, we had no clue at the before the season started how good Drew Aller was going to be. So therefore, putting Penn State at 4 in the preseason, that was not crazy. That was very logical. But then again, you'll have to see where I have them when I do this again after Conference Championship week next week, because I will be doing a review. The other thing you may see me do on that show Sunday is a review of every conference. But let's get to number 3. Number 3, Michigan. I have them here because I think they're going to be one of the final top 3 teams in the Big Ten East with either 10 or 11 wins and 1 or 2 losses. And one of those 2 losses may be to one of the teams that's in front of them. And they do have a returning quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, which he played really well last year. He carved up Ohio State. I'll admit it. He made our defense look like a high school defense. And that's coming from a loyal Ohio State fan. Okay, so Michigan is another team I was wrong on in terms of where I had them ranked in the Big Ten. In the preseason, I had Michigan ranked 3 because I thought they were going to – I said 10 to 11 wins, and I got that right. But, and the big but was, I didn't know if they could back up beating Ohio State 2 of the last 3 years, 2 years in a row, with beating them again this year, and they did. So I was, Michigan fans, I will take the L on putting y'all 3. Y'all deserve to be number 1, and you may just be number 1 when I do my Big Ten power rankings next Sunday on the show. But let's see what I had to say about Maryland. At number 2 in my preseason Big Ten rankings, I have Maryland. The reason I have Maryland here is because I think they're going to be a little bit better than Michigan. I think Maryland's going to finish 2nd and have 11 wins and maybe be runner-up in the Big Ten East to my number 1 team, which I will. Okay, here's what I'm going to say about Maryland. I was wrong on Maryland in terms of them winning 11 games. I thought they could actually win 11 games, but I was wrong. They did do better than everybody thought they were going to do. Everybody thought they weren't going to be that good. I wasn't one of those people. I said they were going to be a good team this year. That when they did not hit the 11 win total that I had for them, but they have a chance to go. I believe they're 7-5 right now. They have a chance to go 8-5 and win a bowl game. So I think that's still a successful season for Maryland. Reveal now. Number 1 in the Big Ten East, I have Ohio State. I think they win the Big Ten East and represent the Big Ten East in the conference championship game and probably win the Big Ten. Okay, so Ohio State, there's two things I got wrong. One, I got them wrong for winning the Big Ten, and I admit when I'm wrong about something. I was wrong on Ohio State this year winning the Big Ten and representing the Big Ten East in the conference championship game. I'm going to admit that right now. And now we get over to the Big Ten West. Back to my channel. Two old videos. So you saw the Big Ten East. Hold up, ladies and gentlemen. We're having a little malfunction on my part. As it's in the upcoming videos. Here's my Big Ten West predictions from the preseason. Half of my Big Ten preseason rankings before the season. I will do this again right before the season starts. Let's get to it. First, I'm going to give you the... Here was where I did my Big Ten preseason coaches of the year. 3 Big Ten coaches of the year preseason prediction. Number 3, I have Matt Rule. Number 2, Mike Locksley. And number 1, Luke Fickell. Now let's circle back to number 3. Matt Rule from Nebraska. The reason I have him here is I think that Nebraska is going to be a lot better this year compared to when they had Scott Frost last year. I think Rule's going to do a better job of recruiting. He already showed what he could do recruiting-wise when he was the coach at Temple. I think you will see in the next slide, the next 2 slides, where I have Nebraska going in their first year under Matt Rule. Okay, so Matt Rule, I still think there's a legitimate chance that he could win Big Ten Coach of the Year. My number 2 preseason Coach of the Year candidate I have is Mike Locksley from Maryland. The reason I have Locksley at number 2 and not number 1 is because there's a certain guy I have at number 1 that I will talk about in a couple minutes. The reason Locksley's at number 2 is I think Maryland, as you saw when I did my preseason rankings for the Big Ten East, I have Maryland finishing in the top 2. And you'll see a little bit down the road in this show where I have Maryland, how far I have them going in the Big Ten. If somehow they can win the Big Ten East and beat Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Rutgers, which they probably will beat Rutgers. But let's get to number 1. Okay, so Locksley, I missed on that. I thought Maryland was going to be better than 6-5. I thought they were going to be top 3 in the Big Ten, in the Big Ten East, and the Big Ten overall. But I missed, and again, I admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong on Maryland for that. And now, let's get to number 1. Number one is Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. I love this hire for Wisconsin. He took a Cincinnati program in the AAC at the time that nobody knew about, and he put them on the map. He put them on the map and helped them get exposure to the big time. He won the American Athletic Conference 2 out of the 4 years. No, correction. I think it was 3 out of the 4 years he was at Cincinnati. I love this hire for Wisconsin. I think their athletic director did a great job of finding the next head coach after Paul Chryst got fired last year. And Wisconsin is another team you'll see here in a minute where I have them in my rankings. Now, so Luke Fickell, that's another one I got wrong with Wisconsin. They had a disappointing season, and I was wrong on Luke Fickell. The only one on this list I got right, I think, was Matt Rule. But I think this was before the whole Pat Fitzgerald thing came out. I think David Braun will be the coach of the year in the Big Ten. That is what I'm thinking, because of Northwestern had no expectations, and they ended up winning 6 games. Now, the moment you have all been waiting for. Here's slide number 2. We get into my preseason rankings for the Big Ten West. At number 7, I have Illinois. The reason I have them at number 7 is because, as you see on the screen, one, it's they're going through a QB battle between Donovan Leary and Luke Altmaier. I'm not going to say the third guy's name because I don't think he's going to compete at all with those two. I think it's either going to be Altmaier or Leary. And then the second reason I have Illinois here is because of their schedule. They have winnable games, but they have games that can also become trap games. For example, they play Kansas, and Kansas was not a pushover last year. Kansas was good last year in football, and I think Kansas will be good again this year. And when I do my Big 12 rankings, you'll see where I have them. It's just a little teaser for a future episode. But anyway, back to. So the reason I have them at number 7, like I said, is because of their schedule that you could consider to be tough, and QB battle going on. So Illinois, I think I got right where I put them in the preseason. As you saw, Luke Altmaier didn't last that long as the starting quarterback for Illinois. And that tough schedule caught up to them, and they didn't win that many games. Let me see what I said about Northwestern. Number 6, I have Northwestern. And the reason I have Northwestern here is due to the fact that they have a young wide receiver core and a young defensive line. And there's rumors out there that if they don't do good this year, Pat Fitzgerald, their coach, could get the boot. He could get fired. But I don't see that happening. Number 5. So Northwestern, I was extremely wrong on Northwestern in the preseason. The Pat Fitzgerald thing, that was true. He did get fired, but he didn't get fired because of that. He got fired because of stuff that I'm not going to say on the show because I don't want to get demonetized. But I was wrong on them, and I was wrong on the next team. 5 is Iowa. And the reason I have them at 5 and not higher is because they have a young offensive line and a young linebacker core. They have 2 juniors, and the rest are sophomores or freshmen in their linebacker core. And their offensive line is also young as well. And I like Iowa. I think when I did this before the season, I could have them ranked higher. It's just the unknown right now of what their offensive line is going to look like and who is their starting linebackers going to be. Okay, number 4, I got number 5, Iowa. I got them very wrong. They won the Big Ten West. So I take the common L on this one too. So I take the L and we move on to number 4. Number 4, I have Minnesota. If you've noticed, I put Minnesota here for 2 reasons. One, they're replacing Tanner Morgan with a new QB who played maybe 2 games last year, and he's a freshman. And they also have a young wide receiver core with the most experienced wide receiver being, I believe, a sophomore or junior. I could be wrong, but if I'm looking at their depth chart like I did, they have a couple freshmen. Chris Offman-Bell is one. He is pretty good. Don't get me wrong. He's good, but I don't think Minnesota finishes. When I do this again before the season starts at the end of this month, at the beginning of next month, I could have Minnesota higher. I could have them right around here. Now the next team we're going to talk about. Okay, Minnesota was another team I was very wrong on in the Big Ten West. If I did these rankings again, these standings projections, Iowa's obviously 1. Northwestern's probably 2 or 3. Nebraska's 2. Northwestern 3. Wisconsin 4. Illinois 5. Minnesota 6. And Purdue would be 7. But that's for another video. Let's see what I had to say about Nebraska. Is the Cornhuskers in Nebraska. I have them at number 3. And there's 2 reasons I have them at number 3. One of them you heard earlier in the last segment as to why they're here. And I gave you a teaser as to why you should have looked ahead to this part. Number 3, Nebraska. And I have them here because they have a new head coach and Matt Rule. And I think Matt Rule is going to do good things with Nebraska. Not just this year, but going forward. I think they're going to be very, very, very competitive in the Big Ten West. And the other reason I have them here is because they also have a new quarterback coming in. I don't remember his name, but they have a new QB coming in. And I could see another little teaser. The next segment, you may see Nebraska as one of my preseason predictions for a certain championship game. Okay, so Nebraska, there's two things I got wrong here with Nebraska. One, them finishing at 3. I think they finished probably at 2 or 3, maybe 4. But got quarterback. I think I said Case. No, I think I said Jeff Sims was going to be the quarterback. Off stream when I was doing stuff on Twitter before the season, I said Jeff Sims was going to be the QB for Nebraska, and I was wrong on that because he was. Actually, no, I was right to a certain extent on that, but the thing I got wrong is where I had Nebraska. Now let's see what I had to say about Purdue and Wisconsin. Just a little teaser. Little teaser. And number 2, I have Purdue. I meant to say new QB and returning coach. That was an autocorrect on my part when I made the slideshow, but I meant to say new QB and returning coach for Purdue. Forgive me. I think Purdue finishes here because I think they're going to do better. And Jeff Brom is the coach, of course, the new coach. Correction. He's the returning coach for Purdue. They have a new QB, but I think they finish here. And when I do this again before the season starts next month, you may see them higher or right in this range. Okay, so with Purdue, one thing I got wrong here is I did this before Brom left to take the head coaching job at Louisville. Because I thought Brom was still going to be the coach at Purdue going into the season after preseason was over. And he ended up getting hired at Louisville. And so I could have redone the show, but I chose not to. And I think if I redid this, Purdue obviously would be last. Now let's see what I had to say about Wisconsin. And then I'll give you my thoughts where I was wrong and what I got right with Wisconsin. And the number 1 team, drumroll please, is Wisconsin. I explained why I think they're going to do good this year and finish number 1 in the Big Ten West. It is because of the new head coach, Alec Pequignot, and their new quarterback transfer from Texas, Hudson Card. I think they win the Big Ten West and represent. Okay, right there, I made a mistake. I thought it was Hudson Card, but I had him mixed up. Hudson Card transferred to Purdue. Tanner Mordecai transferred to Wisconsin. Now let's see what I say about this. The Big Ten West. In my next segment, which you will see in 3, 2... Okay, so Wisconsin, I kind of got right. I said Fickle was going to help them do good, but I got the quarterbacks mixed up. Now the you're going to see today is my projections, my win projections. And yes, you will get to see my top 25 rankings. That's coming up here in a minute. Step back preview. I'm looking for my college football win projection totals for before the season. I have to go back all the way to we are going to get there, maybe not. I'm looking for my college football before the season win projections, if I can find them. Give me a second. I think I can find them. Here we go. I found it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Talk Sports Podcast with Alec Pequignot. Tonight, I will be going over multiple topics. The first one I'm going to be going over, we're going to get right into it, is I'm going to give you, here is my layout, invitation to them to come and join my conference. And for example, say I was the commissioner for a co-host. If you want to be a co-host with me on my podcast, please reach out to me on Instagram and my DMs and DM me, and we can talk and chat, and let's get to the show. 5 things I would change about college football Okay, I'm also going to give you this, and I'm going to tell you whether I still do it or not. I was commissioner of a conference. Number 5, have our own TV deals for every conference, including the conference that I would be in charge of. Number 4. So number 5, yes, I would keep that. Personally, like the AAC, I don't like it on ESPN Plus because not everybody can afford ESPN Plus. So if I was the commissioner of the AAC, I would have a TV deal in place with CBS Sports Network, ESPN, or I would have them introduce the AAC network on a certain channel on like Spectrum or somewhere on a certain TV channel on your TV so you could watch every American Athletic Conference game. And this is a big one. I don't like how media days are spread for different conferences over different months. I would have all the media days be in July, including the media days for the conference that I would be the commissioner of. This is another one that I would keep. Yes, I want all media days to be spread out over a week period time in July. So say the beginning of the month of July, you have the Big Ten for a week, the SEC for a week, the Big 12 for a week, the ACC for a week, the Pac-12. And then at the end of the month, you have all the Group of Five schools. So the Mountain West, the AAC, the Sun Belt, Conference USA. And that's how I would do it. Number 3, only one cupcake game allowed on your non-conference schedule. And I'm not talking about you, Notre Dame. No. I'm specifically talking about Alabama, LSU, ones. I think they're the Big Ten. I would send out an offer, including the media days for the conference that I would be an invitation to them to come and join my conference. The commissioner of. Number 3, only one cupcake game allowed on your non-conference schedule. And I'm not talking about you, Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans, I was not talking about you when I said this. There's 3 specific teams I think I said when I was talking about this. No, I'm specifically talking about Alabama, LSU. I'm talking about the Power 5. That's what I'm talking about. Is, like I said, for example, Alabama, LSU, Texas, Baylor, Oregon, TCU, all these big Power 5 schools that schedule Abilene Christian, Youngstown State, a smaller football school just to get money from playing that team. Number 2, yes. Again, that is something I would set in stone right after I become the commissioner, is only one cupcake non-conference game, or like Ohio State in their case. Every year they play a Ohio school or somebody that's close to that the Ohio border, wherever they are, and they pay them a lot of money to come play them. That is, I still consider that a cupcake game, but they only have one of those a year. And so, like I was saying there, that is all good and fine. If I was commissioner, say, of the Big Ten, and I would invite Group of 5 schools, I would send out an invitation to them to come and join my conference. And, for example, say, like I said, say I was the commissioner of the Big Ten. I would send out an offer to like a USF and say, hey, you want to come join the Big Ten or Florida Atlantic or one of the schools in the AAC or another Group of 5 or a smaller conference that doesn't get a lot of recognition. Number 1, yes. This was my favorite idea I came up with when I made this video, is if I was commissioner of a conference I would invite a group of 5 schools and ask them if they want to join my conference. This is a big sticking point for me if I was commissioner of a conference. 3, it doesn't matter what conference you're in. 3 non-conference games. 3 non-conference games, period. No discussion, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. At least 12 to 13 conference games. And here's what I would do with the conference games. You get to pick 3 teams you play every season. 3 locked-in teams that you play every year. And those are the teams you play every year. And then everybody else, you rotate through and you play everyone in the conference. It doesn't matter. Like the Big Ten next year, they're going away with conferences. With divisions, I mean. It's just going to be the top 2 teams. Whoever has the best record, the 2 teams with the best record in conference will represent the Big Ten in the Big Ten title game in 2024. So this is the last year for divisions. And that's what I have to. And one more thing I'm going to say on that is I'll make an exception. If you have a rival that you play every year and they're out of conference, so like USF now, if they want to play UCF every year out of conference, that'll count as a non-conference game, but you'll get one extra non-conference game. That last one I love. And I like that the Big Ten's going to that, where you have 3 teams you play every single year. And in the rest of the conference, you play everybody and you rotate. Now let's see what I had to say about win totals. Now we're going to talk about college football win projections. And I'm going to give you seven teams. And I'm going to give you their win total. And I'm going to tell you over or under. The first team is North Carolina State. And I think they're going to hit. I don't think they're going to hit the over on their win total. I think they're going to go under 6.5 wins because they lost their QB, Devin Leary, who transferred to Kentucky. And that's the reason I think that they are under 6.5 wins. Okay, here's L number 1 for this show. There might be a lot of L's here. I was very, very wrong on NC State. I thought losing Devin Leary was not going to help them win games. And obviously, I was pretty wrong about that. And I admit when I'm wrong about something, and I was wrong about this. Very wrong. And let's get on to Northwestern. At number 2, I'm going to talk about Northwestern. Oh, Northwestern, they don't need no introduction. If y'all haven't heard the whole conundrum that's going down at Northwestern right now, I recommend going and reading it. It's kind of graphic. All I'm going to say is it involves hazing, and I think I called it. I said Pat Fitzgerald was on the hot seat. He could get fired, and then this happens. He gets fired. Their win total is over or under 2.5 wins. And I don't think they're going to get 2 wins. I think they're going to hit the under and maybe get 1. And the next team. Okay. I will take another L here. I was very, 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 very wrong on these next Northwestern and the next 2 teams after them. I thought Northwestern, they had no expectations from me. I didn't think they were going to be good, and they proved me wrong. And David Braun deserves to be the coach of the year in the Big Ten. What I'm going to talk about. They are, I believe it's either this year or next year, they're moving to D1 for football, and it's Jacksonville State. Their win total is set at over or under 4.5, and I have the under win total because I don't know much. I don't really know much about Jacksonville State, but I do know they have a pretty good basketball program, but we're not talking about basketball right now. We are talking about football, and I don't watch much JSU football, but I've heard from people that Jacksonville State, they don't think they're going to be that good this year. Okay, so here's the thing. Jacksonville State was another team I got wrong. Before the season, I said 4.5 wins, and they've won 8 games. So I was way off on that one, and I know for a I was way off on this next one. Number 4 for teams that are for win totals is West Virginia. And it's sad to see West Virginia on here in the portion of this where it's the under. Their win total set at 5.5. I'm taking the under 5.5 wins for West Virginia. And here's why. They lost a lot in the transfer portal. And I just don't see how they can compete in the Big 12 now that you got Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and UCF joining. I don't see how that works. And it doesn't make I don't and another it's either the next slide or the slide after. I have their coach. Okay, West Virginia, I totally got wrong, and I will admit that's a common L for me. I looked at their roster before the season, and I said, I'll take the under on their win total. And if you bet on the under win total, you just like me. You probably lost some money, which isn't a good thing. But let's see if we can make up for it with the next batch of teams. But like I said about West Virginia, I'm wrong on them. Neil Brown has saved his job. Very much saved his job. Just a little teaser. I have their coach on the hot seat. So that's why I have the under here of 5.5 for West Virginia. Now let's get to teams that I think can hit the over-under win total. The first one being Memphis. Memphis's win total is set at 8.5. I think they hit the over because they're in the American, and the American, I don't know how many times I have to say this. The American is going to be competitive this year. There will be high-scoring games. There will be low-scoring games. I think Memphis will win 9 games this year in the American. The second team, Memphis, I'm pretty sure. Memphis, I got right. I apologize. I hit my mic by accident and knocked it down. But I was right on Memphis. Give me a second. I am pulling something up here. Team I'm going to talk about is Colorado. First year under Deion Sanders. I think they hit the over on their win total, which is 3.5. And I think a successful first season for Deion looks like this. They go 5-7 and finish middle of the pack in the Pac-12. And that's a good season for Colorado. The next team I have on the okay, so Colorado, I actually got right. I said 3.5 wins over, and they hit the over here, and they had 4. So I was right on Colorado. Let's see what I had to say about UAB. College football win projection total is UAB, and this is their first year in the American. Their win total set at 4.5, and for some sneaky reason, I think they go over the win total, and they finish with 6. They get bowl eligible in their first year in the American. And the last, boy, was I mean, this is a push. This one I didn't hit the over on this one or the under. It's a push because they're right at 4 wins, and that's their. Actually, I'm going to say I was wrong on UAB. I should have took the under on their win total. Team I'm going to talk about in this section of college football talk for win projections is Clemson. I think they hit the over on their win projection, and the reason why is because Dabo Swinney's still the head coach, and people forget that. I understand they have a new QB, and it blows my mind that people think, oh, Clemson's not going to be 1 or 2 in the ACC and be in the ACC championship game. Well, sorry to break it to you. I think they will. They will win 10 games this year. They will go 10-2, with their only losses being to Florida State, who I think wins the ACC. And my guest from the other night will like who I think their second loss will be to. I think they will also lose to Notre Dame, which puts them at 10-2, which means they hit the over on their win total. Oh boy, I was wrong on Clemson. I should have taken the under 9.5 wins before the season started, because they're not going to hit the over. They're going to make a bowl game, and they're going to get 9 wins. which the over would have been 10, like I said in the video, but they're not going to hit the over. Now, hold up. Oh, no, we're okay. So here, that's where I'm cutting it off. And now we go over here. Already 55 minutes into the video. I'm going to give you my conference, my top 25 rankings and playoff rankings. Number 25, North Carolina State. 24, Troy. 23, Clemson. 22, Appalachian State. 21, Toledo. 20, LSU. 19, Iowa. And this is where I'm going to start giving you a little insight. So the reason I have Iowa at 19 is because, as you saw on Friday, they barely beat Nebraska. And I could have moved them down and put Toledo here, but I chose to keep them here. And that is just how I have it. And I'm going to let you know that some of my rankings did not change. Number 18, Arizona. Arizona is the most quiet 9-3 team in college football. 17, Louisville. I moved them down because they lost to Kentucky. A 5-loss Kentucky team beat Louisville, so they got punished. Oklahoma State, 16. Again, they're another team that's a quiet, very quiet 9-3 with a chance to win the Big 12. Tulane's at 15. They have a chance to win the American and go back-to-back years as the highest-ranked Group of 5 team. Number 14, SMU. They are going to look to spoil the chances of Tulane getting the New Year's Six Bowl as they play Tulane in the AAC Conference Championship game. Number 13, Miami of Ohio. Number 12, James Madison. They moved back up. They were 16 last week. Now they're back to 12. And they get justice. They will be going, them and Jacksonville State will be going to a bowl game. Which is yes, hooray. Number 11, Missouri. Number 10, Penn State. Number 9, Liberty. Number 8, Alabama. The only reason Bama is behind Texas is because Texas has that win over Bama earlier in the season. Number 7, Texas. If they win the Big 12, they will be in the college football playoff. Number 6, Oregon. Number 5, Florida State. Here's where I have a shakeup. Number 4, Washington. Undefeated with a chance to win the Pac-12. Number 3, Ohio State. I did move them down here and also in my playoff rankings because of the loss to Michigan. And drum roll, please. Here's my new number 2 team in the country. Michigan. What a win it was for Michigan. They beat Ohio State. And I need to get something off my chest about Michigan. I said Ohio State was going to beat Michigan by 40 on all my social media besides YouTube. And I take the L. I'll hold it up high just for y'all to see. I'll take the L. Ohio State lost. We'll get them next year, boys. We'll get them next year, Buckeyes, in Columbus. But with that, number one, Georgia. I don't have much to say about Georgia, even though they struggled against Georgia Tech. And now, here are my college football playoff top 25. Number 25, App State. Number 24, Clemson. They deserve to be ranked. I know I gave up on them and said they were going to go 8-5. They're 8-4 right now with a chance to get their 9th win. Oklahoma State. Memphis pops back into the top 25. And my college football playoff rankings at number 22. 9-3 with a chance to get their 10th win in a bowl game. I think this is the perfect place for them to finish off the regular season. Number 21, Tennessee. They put a throbbing. They beat the brakes off of Vanderbilt. And they earned their way back into my rankings. Number 20, Miami of Ohio. The reason I didn't tell you about them a minute ago in the regular rankings is because most of these teams are the same in the playoff rankings. So Miami of Ohio, they have had a really good season this year. 10-2 with a chance to get revenge in their 11th win against Toledo, which you may see Toledo in a minute in the rankings. Number 19, Toledo. I just mentioned Miami of Ohio, and this is who Miami of Ohio is playing in the MAC championship game. It is Toledo. And I think that's going to be a good MAC championship game, and I think Miami of Ohio might get their revenge. James Madison, number 18. Yes, I have them higher in the other rankings, but like I said, they're going to a bowl game. They should have been allowed to go to the conference championship game, but that's neither here nor there. So we're not going to complain about that anymore. Iowa's at number 17. Kirk Ferentz has Iowa in the Big Ten championship game again. I don't know how, but I don't think they beat Michigan. Number 16, Louisville. They're in the ACC championship game. If they knock off Florida State, that's where the chaos starts. And I want chaos in championship week for two reasons. One, it put Ohio State back in the playoff. And two, maybe Texas gets in the playoff. Number 15, Tulane. Tulane is another team that they're hanging around. They're not going to make the playoff, but they might be the top group of 5 team. And I don't mind that. SMU, 14. Sonny Dykes. No. Rhett Lashley has his boys at SMU playing really good, and they've got a chance to win the AAC. Number 13, Arizona. Jed Fish should be the Pac-12 Coach of the Year. Number 12, LSU. Disappointing 3 losses this year. They're disappointing. Liberty's at number 11. Jamie Chadwell should be the Coach of the Year in Conference USA. Number 10, Penn State. I wrote off Penn State. I guess they didn't write back, and they said, nope, you're not taking us outside the top 10. You're not taking us out of your rankings, Pequignot. we will be in your rankings regardless. And so that is why Penn State is at number 10. Number 9, Missouri. Missouri is another team I was very low on this year. And they've been a quiet 10-2, and they've proved to me that they're actually really good. And I'm going to say this one thing about Mizzou. They're not in the SEC championship game, but I think that their quarterback, Brady Cook, should get Heisman votes. Number 8, Oregon. Number 7, Alabama. Don't write off Nick Saban. I did it, and it came back to bite me. Number 6, Texas. If Texas wins the Big 12, they are in the Big 12 title game. I mean, if they win the Big 12, they're in the playoff. Number 5, Florida State. They were number 4 all season long, and I moved them back because of Jordan Travis getting hurt. So this is not really punishment. This is more of, I just need to see more from Tate Rodemaker as the starter at FSU. Number 4, Washington. Rumadunze and Michael Penix. Lethal duo. That is the reason they beat Washington State. Number 3, Ohio State. The defense let them down on Saturday, and I don't know what else to say. Michigan at number 2. 1, Michigan, congratulations on beating Ohio State 3 years in a row. But I still don't want to hear it from your fans. Because the 2 years before that, those ones should have been vacated because you stole our signs. But that's neither here nor there now, because you beat us fair and square this year. And at number 1, Georgia. Should be surprised to anybody. Georgia, until somebody beats them, will be number 1. And we have some head coaching hires. And some head coaching hires that I like. So the first one was Jonathan Smith with Michigan State. This is a home run hire for Sparty. I like it a lot, and there's a reason I like it. If you give him a couple years, Michigan State, you will be competing in the Big Ten again for championships. And the other one that's presumably in the stages of happening is Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, becoming the head coach at Mississippi State. I like this. Even though Will Rogers jumped in the portal, I think there's a chance that if Jeff Lebby is the head coach and they make it official, there's a slight chance that Will Rogers might take his name out of the portal and go back to Mississippi State for his last season. I don't think it happens, but I love this hire from Mississippi State. And then the last one is Mike Elko going back to Texas A&M, it looks like, to be the head coach. This is a great hire for A&M. They could have gone and got Jeff Traylor, but I will talk about where I think he might end up in a minute. And you might want to save this video in case this does happen, because this team did fire their coach. But back to Elko at A&M. From 2018 to 2021, he was the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. And I think that this is a great hire for A&M because he knows what recruiting that area is like, and he can keep guys in that area, College Station, Katy, Texas, Austin, Amarillo, Denton, Galveston. he can keep all those kids in state and keep them from going to Texas, keep them from going to Tech, keep them from going to North Texas. But now, today, Houston just fired Dana Holgorsen. So I'm going to give you 3 guys who I think could be the next head coach at Houston. Number 3, Dan Mullen. I think Dan Mullen is ready to be a head coach again. He's been an analyst on ESPN for college football the last 2 years. And I think he would fit mighty perfect back in the SEC. No, back in the big time Power 5, Power 4 conference going into next year. And the Big 12 at Houston. And he could change the culture there and help turn that program around. Number 2. The number 2 guy I think would be a good head coach at Houston would be Charlie Strong. I know it didn't work. It worked out at Texas for a little bit. But then he got let go and he went to USF, had some success there. But then he got let go there. I think he would fit at Houston because it's in his neck of the woods in Texas. And he could bring all the recruits in. And that is why I think he would be a good hire. But number 1, Jeff Traylor, who is currently the head coach of UTSA. I think he would be the perfect hire for Houston because, and I heard somebody else say this, he really good recruiter. He's really good at recruiting. And that's the one thing you need is a good recruiter. I think Jeff Traylor could have Houston competing within the next 2 or 3 years if he became the head coach there. And that is why I like Houston to maybe hire Jeff Traylor as their next head coach. If they want to go for a bigger fish, then look at somebody maybe like, those are 3 names. I'm going to give you 2 bonus. One is look at maybe Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator at Alabama, or maybe Bobby Petrino, who was the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Look at those 2 guys. And ladies and gentlemen, I do offer memberships. The memberships start at 99 cents a month. You get really neat perks with them. 99 cents is the cheapest one. Then it's $2.99 and $9.99. And again, you get neat perks like within the next 2 or 3 years, I will be doing meetups where I have meetups with all my YouTube subscribers. And I will be dropping. The first one is probably going to be end of 2024, early 2025. But, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for tonight's show. It was a bit longer than expected, but I will see y'all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Have a great rest of your night. Good night.